Pittsburgh and the surrounding counties. We are going to record this so that we can send it out afterwards and share this with anyone who may not have been able to see it live. So we thank you all for being here. Joining us on the call are several other Unified Champion School members from our team from across the state. I can currently see Tracy Huddleston. She's over in the GLVPR area. And Lauren Salter is our, I know you just got a new title, the senior director of UCS. So Lauren's here with us too. And Hayden Miller is also on this call. She is our Pittsburgh Public Schools Unified City Champion School manager. And UCS team, if anyone else is on here, sorry, I can't see you on my screen. So hopefully you know who your UCS liaison is. You should by now, since we are almost at the season. We will ask that if you have any questions to put them in the chat as we go through our presentation today. If there's anything that we don't answer by the end, we'll hang on for a couple of minutes and you can ask them the questions directly to one of us. So just go ahead and put them in the chat. And Lauren, I believe maybe Ashley's on here, and Tracy, if you guys are able to check the chat and kind of monitor that as we go. Thank you. All right, well, welcome back to another great year of bocce. So our agenda for today, we sort of went over a couple of the staff present on the call, but we'll fill you in on the other names to look out for around the state. New things for this year and tweaks to things that were new last year. A couple reminders, dates and deadlines, and then we'll give you a little bit of info about advancement to states at Hershey, but we won't dive all the way into that because there will be more opportunities and webinars to learn more about that if your team should qualify. And at the end, like I had said, we will take questions then. So if you can hold it till the end, that's great. And if not, just go ahead and put it in the chat. Here is a chart with our UCS team. If you are in the eastern part of the state, you'll have either Kim in the northeast, Ashley Herr, who's in the southeast area. Bryn Wacker is also, she's a new staff member, so she's part of Region 6 as well, which is surrounding Philadelphia area. And then Tracy Huddleston, part of the Greater Lehigh Valley Pocono region. In our central part of the state, Jennifer Tresp is in charge of Region 2 and 3, and Region 2 is called the Wilds. Jan Holt works with the Greater Harrisburg area and the Mid-Penn schools. Lauren Salter will be working with Region 7, the rest of Region 7, which is Capital Area Region, and Region 8. And Lauren is also working with the Philadelphia high schools as well. And then in the West, there's me, Stephanie Taylor. I manage the counties surrounding Pittsburgh. Eric Jankowski, he works with pretty much Allegheny County schools in the southwest part of Allegheny County. Hayden Miller, she works with Pittsburgh Public Schools. And then Doug Chusey, he is in Region 1, which is our northwest region near Erie. So new for 2023-24, our website is live. So if you are looking for resources, if you are looking for the Bocce handbook, it is there. It is on our website. This link will be shared with you at the end of the meeting. It will be shared in the PowerPoint, or you can just go to specialolympicspa.org, and at the top bar, there is a link that says Unified Champion Schools. Go ahead and click that and go down to resources. There's a section that's called Coaches Resources, and you'll be able to see all the good things that we have there. We are still currently working on adding more resources for track and for club and for liaisons in general. However, the Bocce resources are up and live. So you'll be able to access various things like practice games, player rotation charts. There's links to the Bocce rotations and a guide for various scenarios, the officials training video, and as I mentioned, the coach's handbook. For student athlete requirements this year, we are aware that the state has allowed students to come back to school until they turn 22 years of age. Students who are coming back under this provision are not eligible to be on the roster for your team. So they can still be a member of your unified club. They could still be a part of any sort of intramural program at your school. They could be a practice player or a manager. They just cannot be on the official roster and compete at the competitive competitions that we offer this year. Other than that, any student from 9th through 12th grade, I do know we have several schools that are junior, senior highs. So those 6th, 7th, and 8th graders are not eligible to be on your team, 9th grade and up to the age of 21, as long as they are still receiving services from your district. Next, all participants must have 2 forms completed. The first form is the PIAA physical form. That form stays at your school with all the other PIAA forms that your athletic director may collect for any varsity sport athlete. So wherever that location may be at your school, those locations vary. However, we do not collect those. Those stay at your school. What we do need and what we will collect is the responses from what we call the SOPA waiver. This is a link that is specific to your region. So we don't have one general link to share with you. It will come directly from me. It will come directly from Tracy. It will come directly from Ashley. It will not come as a general one size fits all link because it is specific to the schools in your region. This can be completed by a parent or guardian. Some students could fill this out. If you do need paper copies, let your liaison know because we can provide a paper copy. It will need to be uploaded digitally because this is the only way names will be added to the rosters this year. Another new item for this year is we have a Bocce advisory committee. This is relatively new. I believe it began at the end of last year, but it is composed of SOPA representatives, coaches, student leaders, athletic directors from schools of various sizes and locations from across the state. So not one region is heavy loaded with people on this committee. There's not all coaches. It's not all athletic directors. It's not all students. It is a nice mix. We tried really hard to get a good mix of people on this committee. The goal of the committee is just to provide feedback and share ideas with SOPA. So as we go through our decision-making process for the season, we are making informed decisions and we are making the decisions as best as we can to support all schools around the state. The input and experience that these different perspectives bring will help us make these decisions, but ultimately the final decisions are going to be made by Special Olympics Pennsylvania. Some examples of what we've talked about at our committee meetings so far this year are just postseason format and advancement criteria, any suggestions for rule edits or any clarifications that were not so clear in the past, and then just reviewing feedback from previous years. During the season, if you do have any concerns, questions, ideas, or feedback for us, you please feel free to reach out to your liaison. We will also have a feedback form. We will have that up on our website soon. It's not up there yet, but we did want to let you know that it will exist. So you are welcome to share that feedback throughout the season. Next up is team rosters. Most of you, hopefully, if you're returning school, know our roster requirements, but if you're a new school or just need a refresher, the minimum number of students on your roster that is submitted is 6 students. That's 3 athletes and 3 partners. And when we refer to an athlete, that is a Special Olympic eligible person, somebody with an intellectual disability, cognitive delay, or fits into that category as an athlete. And then the partners are your gen ed students, possibly somebody who might have a specific learning disability with an IEP, but just doesn't quite fit into that intellectual disability category. The maximum on a team is 8. The ideal number of that 8 would be 4 athletes and 4 partners. That helps out a lot with rotations. It helps out a lot with keeping things even, and it is the most unified way of having your team. However, we do know some schools have limitations on how many students could qualify for as athletes or even as partners. So it could be 3 athletes and 5 partners, or 5 athletes and 3 partners. Any way you can get to 8, that's fine, as long as you meet the minimum of 3 and 3. Just a reminder, no substitutes or alternates are allowed. Players cannot be replaced during the season for any reason. And if you have 2 teams, you can't move a player from team 1 to team 2 or vice versa. Additionally, the rosters will be due Monday, December 4th. So after that date, we will go in and lock the rosters. Your SOPA liaison will go in and lock the rosters so no more changes can be made. When these rosters are submitted, that's your team for that team for the season. As a reminder, winter season interscholastic sports athletes cannot participate on your unified bocce team. Fall and spring varsity athletes can. So if you do have any student who is an athlete in another sport that's not in the winter sport season, they are able to play on your team. Finally, on your roster, there will be a space that you can identify who your head official is. We're asking for you to let us know who your head adult official is. Your line judge or student official or secondary official, you can also include them as well, but we are going to be offering an officials webinar if they would like to join, so they can get that information in advance of the season. We do have the officials training video. It is up on the website as well, so please feel free to share that with whoever may be the official at your school for this year. So the rosters this year are going to be handled a little differently than in the past. It will still be a Google form, it will still be an Excel sheet, and it will look the same. However, the steps to have a name added to the roster are going to change a little bit. The first step is they must complete the SOPA waiver. In the past, you would reach out to us and we would say, oh, this many people have filled the waiver out for your school. This year, when they fill it out, their name will auto-populate into your roster. So you will no longer have to type names in. You will simply have to just make sure as you check your roster, if you see somebody whose name is not showing up, that means they did not fill out the roster. On your roster, there's going to be 2 tabs this year. On the first tab, you will simply assign each student a team. So if they're on team 1 or team 2, keeping ratios in mind. And then step 3 is just checking and making sure you meet the minimum for each team. This is what it will look like. So the top part here in red is the first tab I was referring to, and where it says team assignment, all of the names over here are going to be auto-populated when they fill out that SOPA waiver. All you will have to do is go in and assign them a team. So you'll see on your second page, their names will pop up as under what team they're assigned. So here you see John and Kendall are assigned to team 1. Then if you go over to your roster tab, you will see that team 1 has John and Kendall listed under there. Next, practices. We're asking that all schools have 2 after-school practices twice a week. On weeks that you have a match, you're only required to have 1 practice. So if you have a match on Tuesday and then practice on Thursday, you're good for that week. There may be some situations where you have 2 matches in 1 week. That is fine. You do not have to have a 3rd day of practice in there. You're welcome to practice as much as you want, but that is our requirement, is 2 practices per week or 2 experiences per week once we start the season. We do have a lot of resources, as I mentioned earlier. So different warm-up guides, cool-down guides, different games. Some of those games are pretty fun. I coach bocce in the community and I played some of them with my athletes and they really seem to like them. So I definitely encourage this, and shout out to Eric Jankowski from Baldwin High School. He created this and shared it with us. So if you have any games or any resources you'd like to share, please feel free to let us know, because we're always looking for some good ideas to share for the greater good. This is just an example of a practice or training plan, the different components and what is included there. Next is any student who may require a one-on-one or a paraprofessional. They are entitled to have that person with them during games and during matches. You can add an additional chair for the para to sit and be near that student. The big thing to remember is that person is not allowed to coach, just like you as a coach are not allowed to coach during the game. So keep in mind that they're there for that support that the student needs, not to coach them. Next, pace of play. The officials, this is something to please be sure to let your officials know that they are responsible for helping keep the pace of play going and allow for the most playing time as possible. So if a student's in there and it seems like they're either just not rolling or kind of stalling around, the head official will give the official command, red in, green roll, and then they will count about 10 seconds. After the first prompt, the second prompt is given. And after the third prompt, then they'll do the basketball hand count, 10, 9, 8. If after this third prompt, the ball is not thrown, then it will be considered a dead ball and removed from the frame. Timeouts. Each team is permitted one 60-second timeout per game. So just as a reminder, you have 2 games at each match. And so you can use one 60-second timeout in each game. The coach must request the timeout to the official. So this is coming from the coach, not from the students. Your team must be in possession of the ball or at the end of the frame while the officials are measuring other balls in contention. So if it is apparent that red is in and getting the point, they are in possession, they can call timeout. The clock will stop for 60 seconds and the coaches will then go to the players and coach them at where the players are, and then the coaches will go back to their coaches' chairs. We've seen enough people trip over those PVC pipes. We don't want to have the team go into the coach. So coaches, please go over to your team and limit their movement around those pipes. These timeouts are allowed anytime during the course of a game. However, they're not allowed during a golden frame. And if you're not sure what the golden frame is, stay tuned. It is coming up. Once the official announces the timeout, as I mentioned, the coach will go to the players. 60 seconds will begin. And then after 60 seconds, whoever's running the clock or running the timer for that 60 seconds will let them know the timeout is over and the game clock will start back up again. Next, an important rule is knowing that the ball release must be below the waist. If it is above the waist, it will be considered a dead ball and removed from play. The players can hold the ball underhand, they can hold it overhand. As long as they're releasing it below the waist, it will be a live ball for the roll. Some reminders, a lot of you have been asking about uniforms. The uniform website is live. It is live now. This is the link. After this webinar, we will send the PowerPoint and the slide deck out that has a lot of the links live and active. So if you go to the Wills Uniform website, you are able to order what you need for your school. New schools and coaches can order up to 16 athlete and unified partner polo shirts. That would be in one of your school colors. And you can order 2 coaches polos. That would be in your opposite school color. And we just don't want them to match the athlete shirts. So we want to know who the coaches are. There have been a couple times it's hard to tell. So make sure the coaches have a different color and the athletes are in and partners are in another color. You'll also be able to order 4 officials polos. For returning schools, if you do need to order some more, you should only be ordering sizes that are needed above what you currently have. So this is, please don't turn this into like a free-for-all. Order only what you need if you do need anything else. If your school does want to create your own polo shirt, our polo shirts are pictured here in this photo. It is a simple single color polo. It will have Special Olympics PA. It will have your high school's name. or Special Olympics Unified Sports, your high school's name, and that's it. It is not a Nike or Under Armour brand of any sort. It is whatever our vendor provides us. So if you wanted something that was a different type of name brand, you're welcome to do that, but that would be at the cost of your school. Also, you would need pre-approval for the artwork. So if that is the path you are looking to take, please reach out to your SOPA liaison and we can provide you with more information about that. Next is the pants. We do not provide pants. The bottoms are a school decision. It is either black pants or navy pants or this khaki color. So allowed attire include pants with a simple stripe down the side, these leggings, sweatpants, and then the khakis. What is not allowed are pants with ripped holes, cargo pants, jeans, gray sweatpants, black jeans, any sort of patterned legging or legging with holes in it. This is all also in your bocce coach's handbook. Hopefully you all received them. I know that they were arriving at schools, so I am hopeful that a lot of you already might have that in your possession at this time. As far as footwear goes, an athletic sneaker or tennis shoe is what we require. These can be any color, so we aren't specific about the color for the shoes. What is not allowed are slip-on shoes like Toms or Vans, any kind of boots. I know during the winter, students love to wear their boots to school, so just to remind them to bring a pair of sneakers if they have a bocce match or practice. Flip-flops are not allowed, and also we know that Crocs are pretty popular right now. Crocs are also not a permissible shoe for our attire. Next, the bocce balls. Your school should have a set of bocce balls. If you are a new school, you will be getting your set of bocce balls either at a coach's training or mailed to your school. Each liaison is handling their distribution of materials in their own way. So you'll be receiving the set of bocce balls, which include 4 red, 4 green, and a Polina. These are filled with a non-toxic mixture of gel and water. So if any leaks out a little bit, that's okay. It is non-toxic. If these balls need cleaned, you can clean them with a little bit of soap and water, but just please air dry them. Please do not use a hair dryer or any sort of thing like that. If they do seem to deflate a little bit, use one of those handheld air pumps, similar to what you would use for a basketball, and only give it the tiniest little bit of air. Please do not overfill these, because if you do, they'll start to kind of roll funky. If your balls are losing shape or any sort of issue happens, let us know right away so we can try to help solve that problem. Next, for your game day lineup. Game day rosters must stay intact without any alterations or substitutions, meaning you cannot move somebody from team 1 to team 2, like I mentioned earlier. And also anyone not on the roster can't just jump in and play because they're there after school and they just feel like playing. For an official match to be played, your school needs a minimum of 4 players. That's 2 athletes and 2 partners. So if your team has that minimum roster of 6 and 2 students are absent, then you still are able to play because you would have 2 athletes and 2 partners. This is where, with your roster, if you have 8 students on your roster, a lot of people ask about substitutions and adding extra players. Your team sort of already has substitutions built into the roster. So if someone's absent, you can still compete and have that game counted. Now, if your team does have less than 2 athletes and 2 unified partners, you will forfeit the game, and you can still play an exhibition game. It just wouldn't count, and your team would end up losing the match with the game with a score of 8-0. Just like last year, we tracked scores, wins, losses, and points. So that a forfeit with an 8-0 score is a pretty big point differential. So keep that in mind. If you do have less than 8 players, or you have a situation where you have 3 athletes and 5 partners, or vice versa, Please check out our player rotation page in the Bocce resource guide and also the videos that are linked at our website. This explains and shows how the partners and athletes should be rotating to make it fit into our rules. Next, the coaches' chairs. We heard in the past that sometimes you guys didn't like having to sit the whole time. As long as you're in the coaches' chair area, you're fine. But you do need chair area, which is around the 30-foot line, which is the half court line, if you will. During the match and during the game, the coach may not coach or provide instruction once the timer starts. You can use your timeout and have a 60-second timeout. And if the other team calls a timeout, you are also able to talk to your team during that time. Coaches are allowed to say positive affirmations like good roll, nice job, simple commands like roll the ball, any sort of coaching or directing like roll the ball to the left or roll it hard or roll it softer. That is what coaching is. That is what is not allowed. Some numbers here. Each game is 30 minutes or the first team to reach 16 points. The length of each game can vary because it doesn't necessarily go all the way to 30 minutes because there is a 2-minute warning. I will describe more of that on the next slide. 1 minute, again, is the length of the timeout. With 7 minutes left to play, if your team is slowing down the pace of play in an attempt to win, a delay of game penalty could be called. So if the official thinks that your school is on purpose delaying the game, you'll get a warning. You'll get one warning. If it is perceived that you are delaying the game again, then the number of points, the frame will be called dead, and the other team, the opposing team, will get 4 points for that frame. At 2 minutes, the 2-minute warning is called. The scorekeeper will call 2-minute warning, and during the final 2 minutes, once that 2-minute warning is called, if the players are in the middle of a frame, they will complete the frame and end the game. If they are about to start a frame, you will only start it if the 2-minute warning has not passed. A frame is started when the Polina is rolled the first time. If it is an unsuccessful Polina roll, the fact that the Polina was rolled still counts, so you would play that frame out. However, if the 2-minute warning is called and the officials are still moving the balls to the corners, that is when the game would end. The only time that you would play beyond the regulation of 30 minutes is if at the end of that time it is still tied, you would play a 1-frame tiebreak. Okay, next, this is our information about golden frame. I'm not sure how many of you might have experienced a golden frame last season. Some of the golden frame experiences I've been in, they're pretty intense, pretty exciting. Some people loved them, and some people were not as, the high stakes was exciting, but a little bit much. So this year, the way we're handling golden frame is if the overall wins for each score tied. So if you're playing a school and it's one team versus one team, and at the end you're tied 1-1, you each won a game, you can decide if you want to play a golden frame to see who wins the match. Each school picks 2 athletes and 2 partners from the same team. So if you have 2 teams, it can't be 2 athletes from team A and 2 partners from team B. It's all from the same team. They'll play 1 frame. The coaches will let the scorekeepers know who's playing. They'll do a regular coin toss, and whoever wins the coin toss will pick their ball color and roll the Polina first. You cannot call timeouts, but all other rules will be at play. And this is only 1 frame. It's 8 total balls rolled. And then the winner of the frame will win the match. Now, if both schools agree that they do not want to play it, they do not have to play it, and you can end the match in a tie. Because what we are tracking as your liaisons, we are only tracking your wins and losses from scheduled matches and points scored. So anything that happens in the golden frame is just to break that tie and for you to go back to your school and say, oh, we beat our rival team in the match, but really your final score was a 1-1 tie. If both schools agree to not play the golden frame, then the match is over and everyone could go home. If you do want to play the golden frame, one team wants to and one team does not, you will have to play the golden frame. Again, it has nothing to do with points. We are not tracking if you won a golden frame. We are not tracking how many points you scored in a golden frame. We are not tracking that you won the match. We are only tracking individual games that have been scheduled and if you won or you lost and how many points have been scored. In our resource guide, there are additional support materials for you. These materials include different ramp styles and how to build them if you have an athlete or a partner who needs a ramp, descriptions of the court construction and a diagram for that, rotation guides, training plans, and a spectator guide that you can share. If you print that out and share it with parents or anyone coming to your matches, it can help them understand if they've never seen bocce before or might be a little confused. In your bocce handbook, we had a big list of dates and deadlines coming up. And in the handbook, you can't click on the links, but in the digital version, you can. So on our website, you can see this on the page that has the dates and deadlines, what's all coming up. First, coming up November 17th is the first day that practices can begin. That is the first day of PIAA winter sport practices. Next, November 1st through November 21st, that's our window for uniform ordering. So if you aren't sure of your team yet, but want to order your uniforms, order a variety of sizes. So that way you can accommodate multiple size people on your team. The links are live. Like I said, it will take you right to the order page and you will see a description similar to what this picture is like of what you're allowed to order. So you must order by November 21st in order to receive your polos by December 6th. But the sooner the better, so please don't wait on this. By December 1st, those SOPA waivers are due. And then by the 4th is when the team rosters are due. That is when your SOPA liaison will go in and lock the roster. Additionally, after every bocce training that we host, we ask all coaches to take the coaches quiz. You'll need to pass the coaches quiz with a score of 22 or higher out of 26 questions. It is open notes, so you should have a copy of your handbook by now. And if you don't, you can use the one on our website because, like as I said, it is up there and it is live. It's open notes, so please utilize your resource to take this coach's quiz. By December 6th, that is another opportunity for a webinar. This is the competition management webinar, kind of geared more towards athletic directors or whoever sets up your gym for your home bocce matches. During this webinar, we'll explain how to set up your court, how to set up the chairs, if you have any special plans for fans in the stands, such as having a band, having your cheerleaders, different things you can print or have accessible to the attendees at your match. So the structure of what game day looks like is what we'll go over on December 6th. On December 7th, we're offering our first officials webinar. So in the past, we have just sent the link to the officials training video. This year, we wanted to offer a webinar for them just to ease any anxieties or to help them learn more before they're out there officiating for the first time. Next, league play will begin the week of December 11th, and it will go through February 9th. We have a buffer week for makeup snow matches because we are aware with our state there are some schools who might have a match here or there canceled due to weather. After we come back for the new year, we will have a webinar on January 9th. This will explain what postseason will look like. If you have any questions about what is needed for qualifying for playoffs, what is needed for advancing to your regional match, your letter of intent. What the letter of intent is, it means you're committing to further advancement in playoffs. And should your team qualify, you will attend the playoffs. And should your team qualify or win at the regional level, your plan is to attend states in Hershey in March. If I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry. February 12th through March 1st are the league championships around the state, and snow day makeup matches could be rescheduled during this time frame. After March 1st, all of that will be wrapped up. February 29th, leap year day, is when we will share information about PIAA and the state championship. So if your team is not advancing on to the state championship, you do not need to attend this webinar. But if your school has a chance to make it to playoffs, make it to regionals, make it to states, we would highly encourage you to join us on this webinar, because we'll go over all of the details of what is leading up to our state tournament. The week of March 4th is when the regional championships will take place. In a few slides after this, I will show the breakdown of regionals. Last year, we had several regionals around our state. This year, we are having 8 regionals. So the winner from each regional event will advance to Hershey. That is the way it is broken down this year. There is a very quick turnaround from our regional championship week and when housing is due. So at that webinar here, we will go over everything that you would need, and we would be asking coaches to have that information already kind of completed by the time you make it to the regional championship week, so that if your team should win at regionals, you already have it completed. You know what students are coming. You have already figured out their assignments and all of that. So we're trying to keep on top of that, but it is a very quick turnaround. If you have a regional championship on March 7th and have to turn your paperwork in by the 8th, we just want you to know in advance that it is a quick turnaround. So if that week, if you're planning to go to states, please make sure that you have that information ready. On Wednesday, March 20th, is when schools would travel to Hershey. The schools are required to provide the transportation, but Special Olympics will provide the food and the housing. You'll be housed at a Days Inn in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Wednesday night, we have a group dinner with activities. And last year, I got to say, it was probably one of my favorite days of the whole year. Watching all the teams get to do these different activities around inclusion. They had some fun with each other, with their team, and meeting new people. It was a really wonderful night. Then we go back to the hotel, and on Thursday morning, it is game time. Everyone wakes up early, eats breakfast, and then heads over to the Giant Center to compete in 3 rounds, and the winner takes all. Finally, after states is over, we'll have a little bit of a week of downtime before we're asking for that post-season Bocce survey to be completed. We really value your feedback, and we use it to help shape our decisions each year. So please, please, please have your voice heard and let us know how the season went for you. The way you can qualify to go to states is a tiered, layered process. First, you would need to win your division or league based on the state, the different areas of the state. It is set up just a little differently based on the number of schools and how these leagues are set up. But schools who will qualify will receive an award for their placement in their division or league, and then potentially qualify for regionals. This is important to note. Not all schools will make playoffs. This is how we did it last year. This closely aligns with how other varsity sports operate. We are a varsity sport, so not all teams will make the playoffs, just like basketball, not all teams make the playoffs. The regional qualifiers, as I had mentioned, there will be 8 of these around the state. Winners of those will advance on to Hershey. This is a very colorful and fun looking chart. It is not official at the moment for where the locations are, but your school is grouped into a league or a division, and it is separated into 8 different regional locations. There will be 3 regional events that will happen at Geneva College. that is out here in Western PA. So your schools will be, the schools will be divvied up amongst these 3 different regional days or events. There will be 2 at the Glen Mills School. There will be 1 regional near Juniata. There will be 1 regional near Penn State Schuylkill, and there will be 1 regional near State College. Again, these are not, some of these locations are not officially, the location isn't set, like it's not necessarily at Juniata College, but it will be near there. This slide just kept all of the PIAA postseason information together on one slide. So if, as you're going back looking through, you're really wondering where all that might be, just one slide with the dates and deadlines that lead up to playoffs. And this picture down here is our state champions from last year, St. Mary's Area High School. Not right now. Again, for states, your school will provide transportation to and from Hershey, and also during your time at Hershey. So driving the team from the hotel to the location for dinner and activities, driving your team from the hotel to the Giant Center in the morning. So transportation, your school would need to provide that. You would need to provide 2 coaches, and the required ratio is 4 students to 1 adult. That is a Special Olympics PA policy. And there also are gender policies as well. So if there are males and females on the team, you would need male and female coaches representing. Teams must have a minimum of 6 students on the roster and a maximum of 8. All team members must be dressed in their proper and official uniform and have the PIAA physical form completed and on hand when you arrive in Hershey. Finally, we mentioned the coaches quiz earlier, but there is a question in there just to make sure that you read through and were a part of the webinar. This slide has our silly little bonus question that's in there. So we're cheesing for bocce this year. Last year it was there's no crying in bocce. In the past it was something about giraffes. But this year, remember this and you will help answer that question on the coaches quiz. Now we have reached the end of what we have planned for this presentation. So if anyone had any questions, I can stop sharing now so I can hopefully see more people. And if anyone wants to ask questions, they are welcome to. And if not, if you'd rather ask a question not in front of the entire group, you are welcome to hang on and we can dismiss everyone. And if you want to stay, I will hang on here to answer any questions as well. But thank you for joining us today. And we will send a follow-up with the link to this recording and the PowerPoint slides. Lauren, Tracy, were there any questions that we needed to address before we let everyone go?
Two quick ones on here. I believe I answered everybody's else like right directly in the chat. So one of the things that we can do is also send like a copy of the transcript so you can see some of these responses in writing, which is kind of helpful because we go through them kind of quick sometimes. So we can definitely do that. The last 2 on here that I see are, does cheerleading count as a winter sport? So there's a couple pieces to that. If they are part of a competitive cheerleading team, yes, it counts as a winter sport. If they are bench cheerleaders, no. So that two different categories there of whichever one they fall into determines if it counts as a winter sport or not. When will you get your schedules? Those, oh, you guys all got your questions in here fast and furious. Good job. When will you get your schedules? The team is working really diligently right now to collect those dates from your athletic directors and put those things together. So prior to the start of your season, right? So that's kind of the drop dead for us is as you start your practices. Before that, after that November 17th date, you'll get your schedule. So I defer to your particular liaison, but for us as a Unified Champion Schools team, that's kind of our drop dead internally to have them by that time. You may have them much sooner than that. So if your athletic directors aren't getting those dates, please go poke the bear and make sure that they get those dates to your UCS contacts so we can make sure that we make those schedules. If you haven't received a coach's guide, go ahead and drop a note in here. We can make sure that you do get one. We can double check on the shipping as well to make sure that it was shipped to the correct place, or may ask you to double check with the office. We know how sometimes that the office area where things are sent can kind of be a catch-all, but we can do a double check on that. So if anybody hasn't received it, please let us know so we can check on that for your hard copy. Steph has also dropped in the link to the digital copy of that coach's resource guide. So Steph, thanks for adding that in here as well. Really want to drive you all to our website, right? So in previous years, we have to admit it has not been the best resource. We spent a significant amount of time over the last few months to have this be a one-stop shop for you to be able to get your resources, whether it's videos, trainings, whether it's these resource guides, paper items that you can print for materials. So please check out that website for those items. Steph has also dropped some additional items in there as well. So you can go to the link on that site and see all the resources and the direct link to the resource guide itself. So thanks for dropping that. Perfect. And Steph added the quick note on there that all the links that you would need to those additional resources are listed on pages 4 and 5 of that resource guide as well. All right. Let me just do a quick double check on here. The link for orders that will come following this recording. So it is live, open, official. So please, that deadline, as Steph noted, November 21st. It may seem early. However, we want to make sure that those are to you prior to the start of competitions. As you might have noticed, I dropped in a little note in there. We have 269 competing schools in Bocce this year, which is awesome. That's a huge number, but it is also a huge number of schools to be shipping individual uniform shipments to. We want to make sure that you have it, all 269 of them, so that earlier date. My advice is order bigger rather than smaller if you're in doubt. They're all unisex size polos as a quick heads up. So, right. Yes, so you will receive prior to competition. So this comes from Meg Stevens. The question is there online score sheets similar to what we do for track and field? So far, friends that are joining the Bocce party for the first time this year, yes, we will have score sheets that are sent to you prior to your competitions for that online scoring piece. Much less to fill out on this version of a score sheet than your track and field sheet. So if you've rocked that track and field sheet, this Bocce sheet will be no problem at all. A couple questions in regards to some trainings. Do new coaches have to do the NFHS trainings? Yes, they do. So it's Coaching Unified Sports and then also concussion training. And if you have the certificates for those, you send them to your liaison. Those will also be coming in. You don't have to memorize this, but you'll also be receiving those links. They're also in the guidebooks to complete those and send certificates to your liaisons. All right. Bonnie, you have a question in here. Is there a place to download and print unified sports posters and signage? So I would direct you to touch base with your liaison, let them know exactly, hey, what are you looking for in those posters? And we can definitely help get you something specific to exactly what you're looking for. If it's recruiting for athletes, is it a general information poster? Is it just like a unified type of deal? We can definitely put you in the right direction. We just need a little bit more of what exactly you're looking for, and we can help you out. No problem. Megan, should we have a designated scorekeeper like the official in-line judge? It's awesome if you do. This is a really great thing that a student can very easily be a scorekeeper, or a pair of students to do as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be one designated one. It's helpful to be able to spend a little bit of time prior to the match so they have an idea of what they're doing with the score sheet. I wouldn't just grab somebody off there in 3 seconds, try to give them a summary and confuse them. But yes, if you want to reach out to some students, some student leaders that you may have that may want to take on that scorekeeping, even that announcing piece, it's a really great job that students can 100% own and do. Great questions. Right. All right, so I am going to.
There is one more question, Lauren. I don't know if
Yep,
you saw it pop up.
I did. Yeah, I did see that. And I'm gonna say, so the last question on here is more of a discussion question, is in regards to returning schools of if you're getting a ton of interest from your partners and athletes, how you manage that. They're getting a ton of emails since last year. If you're like a second year school, we told you year one is the hardest of getting the recruitment, but once folks see it, everybody wants to be a part of it because it's so cool. So schools manage that in a number of different ways, actually. And I'm wondering of who your exact UCS contact is can help connect you with schools in your exact league. Would probably be the most helpful. So you've got some friends that are right around you that can tell you how they manage that. There's different ways. Some folks, where's Ashley? There she is. She popped on screen. Hey, Ashley. Ashley Roche. Do you want to elaborate a little bit and stuff? I'm going to stop the recording since we're getting more into a little bit of a discussion piece here. And then if anybody else wants to chime in to help answer Ashley's question, it will be very much appreciated. So Ashley, I will hand it to you.